If you're wondering whether you are too old to start an IT career, I personally think that you're asking the wrong question. Because the real question is, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to adapt? Are you willing to build evidence that you can do the work that is required? Because your age itself is not what disqualifies people from technology. Standing still does. Let me explain. If for some reason this is your first time ever coming upon one of my videos, my name is Giovanni and I am a senior at SNHU, adults that are returning to school. And this was specifically a question that was asked, and I thought it was worth having a conversation and talking to you guys directly about that. So I decided to do it while I had a moment. I hear a lot of concerns from people like in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and beyond. And a lot of times they look at technology and assume that everybody entering the IT field is 22 or 19 and has been coding since middle school and already understands everything. Let me tell you something. That is not reality. And I'm just being honest. That's not reality. Technology is full of people who came from someplace else. If you don't know my history, I was in the military, okay, for well over 10 years. And I went from the military to healthcare. Okay. In the military, I did healthcare. So I went from that to retail, to logistics, to customer service, to education, to operations management. All of those things didn't change just because I went to a different job. I still had, for example, when I came here, I still had my healthcare back. I still have that. I still have my healthcare background. So moving into IT is more about the skills that you're bringing over with you. So when you're older, and this is just specifically for the people 30 and older, okay? That is not to say if you're 25 that you don't have the same thing. I'm speaking to us. So when you're older, you may already understand how to communicate. Okay. So that's one thing. Typically, when you're older, you understand how to communicate with difficult people. You already know how to manage pressure, whether it's a family or healthcare concerns, caring for an aging parent. You already know how to show up consistently, how to solve problems without panicking. And you also typically know how to take ownership of something before it goes wrong. And oftentimes it doesn't go wrong because you're already ahead of the game. So those are not minor skills. I know you may take those as minor skills. Those are skills that are often separate you from someone who knows technology, from someone who's in a company, they've got education, but they haven't been through anything. So they don't really know how to trust the system and trust the process. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm not trying to sell anybody a fantasy because that's just not what my channel is about. A career change can be uncomfortable, and often it is. Okay. Your first role may not be what you think when you think of IT. Okay. Let me give you an example. You may graduate with a degree, and let's say you graduate with an IT degree. You very well may do that. And then you graduate and find out that you're working the help desk. So what ends up happening is that you think for whatever reason that you're not in IT because you aren't working in cybersecurity. Let me tell you, cybersecurity is not an entry level job. In IT, you're not going to go just because you've been working in operations for 15 years and then you decide to come over to IT. Are you going to go there and become a manager in IT? IT is one of those things that kind of builds upon itself. So you to school to study, you do labs, you earn certifications, you take the classes, you know, understand that you may not end up initially in these top 100, $200,000 jobs. And that's often what happens is people believe that they're going to step into these jobs easily. And I'm telling you, that's not the case. That's more of like an ego type of challenge. So I don't know where that came from, but I'm speaking from my own perspective. But starting at the beginning of your field, okay, understand that that does not erase everything that you've done before this. Whether you were a firefighter and decided that you wanted to get in, does not mean that you being a firefighter and the things that you learned how to deal with fires and take care of things and anticipate that those skills are non-transferable. Okay. Just want to make sure we're clear there. So if you worked in customer service, you already understand customers, you already understand conflict, you already understand communications. If you've worked in operations, you understand process reliability and what happens if a system's failed. If you worked in healthcare like me or in the military, you probably understand documentation. We understand documentation well, especially those that actually worked in healthcare. You understand documentation. We know about urgency, accountability. We also know about working under pressure because that becomes our norm. If you have managed people before, you understand priorities and expectations and how to manage people up and down the business. So you're not just a machine. So my point is, theoretically, I need you to think about things without the technical layer added. Okay. Learning networking, you're going to have to learn operational systems. You're going to have to learn cloud fundamentals. You're going to have to, at some point, build a home lab or pieces of a home lab. You're going to have to learn how to document projects. If you're going to SNHU and you're considering studying cybersecurity, information management, you're going to go through places where you can earn certificates that support your path as you get ready to switch. You start showing people what you can do instead of only telling them what you hope to become. You just start showing up. That's what this channel was all about. I started this channel because I was going back to school and I did not see anyone who was documenting their journey. It was a lot of people who were saying, this is what it was like for me to go through SNHU as a student, which is great. But that's not what I wanted to see. What I wanted to see was a person that I could buy into and I could look at, hey, this person kept showing up and saying this is what they were learning and this is what they were struggling with and this is how they got an F and turned it around. I wanted to see that and I didn't see anybody doing that. So I created this community, which is now over 1,000 people. So I'm telling you, please stop comparing yourself and your timeline to someone else's who started at a different point in their life. Okay. Everybody has to start. So you're not competing to become a 22-year-old again. All right. You are building the strongest version of yourself at the age that you are now. So is it too late to switch into IT? No, it's not. But you do need to plan. You do need to have patience and a willingness to keep going and being valuable. That's important. Your age makes you valuable. Do not focus just on your age. Focus on what you can learn, what you can build, what you can demonstrate over time. Think about in 6 months. What can you do in 6 months? That's where your transition begins.